All right, we are live.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Welcome, everybody. For those who come in later, and to anyone that's joining us now, thank you for tuning in. I have with us a new guest today. It's Logan, right?
Yes, Logan. Yeah.
Logan, or Zippy's Card Corner.
Yep.
He is an online content creator in an online store. So I'm going to drop his link right here in the chat. It's also in the description for anyone who wants to check him out. You mainly specialize in Japanese product.
Yep.
And does a lot of cool content, mostly short form.
Yep.
Keeping you up to date on prices, news,
Yep.
artists. Yeah, pretty much goes into everything. So what's up, iFOMO? So yeah, we'll get into that today. And I kind of wanted to pick your brain because you're someone who came across my feed a few months ago.
Sure.
And I don't know, I felt like you figured out sort of a magic touch or formula that worked for you.
Okay.
And I felt like not enough people, including myself, are kind of leaning into their strengths. And so I just wanted to pick your brain a bit about not only the market, but also the back end of how you run your business, and then also how that translates from the content you make.
Yeah, there's a lot to go over. We got time.
Okay, sweet. So as always, housekeeping. I have a free Discord for anyone joining called the Zen Force. You can buy, sell, trade, talk about collecting, investing, all that jazz. Link is in the description below. But yeah, Zippy, Logan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure.
Tell everyone kind of how you got into the hobby, and then maybe what you're doing now.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Logan. I run Zippy's Card Corner. It's an online Pokemon card shop. That's what we started out as. That's what we are doing. But as of the past couple of months, things have kind of been put onto my plate with content creation as well. And kind of like, Zach was saying, Zach, right? Yeah, Zach.
Yes.
Zach was saying how, a lot of it, my time now has been focused on content creation, creating, Pokemon news, market updates, tips, and things about artists and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of taken over a lot of what Zippy's Card Corner is and what people know me as. So started this business about a year ago, Japanese primarily, moving into some other stuff as well, but we're an online Pokemon card shop. That's the number one goal. Always has been, always will be. I grew up on Pokemon. I was kind of talking to Zach before this, how, I don't have a whole lot of friends that are into Pokemon. And that was the same way growing up. I was almost embarrassed about Pokemon. And so it's real fun to kind of talk to someone about it. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk about Pokemon, happy to talk about the business. I got back into the hobby right around the time of COVID. That was when I had kind of graduated from college. I had a big boy job. You start making your own money, and you have independence and kind of do what you want to do. And I remember just being, entranced by all of the YouTube content about, ripping packs and base set stuff. And it was like nostalgia just came to me, in terms of, all that feeling of like hanging out with your friends, growing up, about, just like making up rules, playing Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Too. And so anyways, I think that was sort of what, got me back into it. It's just the whole COVID, pandemic craze. I started buying packs, ripping packs, having fun with it, collecting again. And then I probably spent way too much money on Pokemon and was like, you know what? I have to pause for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I took a little bit of a break. And, about maybe towards the beginning of last year, 2024, is when I kind of got back into it, and just started having fun with it. And, there's reasons why I chose to do the business, and maybe we can get into that. But I've been kind of heads down into Pokemon for about a year and a half at this point. Anyways, that's about where I'm at right now. Yeah, I'll pause there.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't know if I've probably gone into it a few times on the
Mhm.
streams, or anyone who knows me knows, but
Sure.
I have a very similar trajectory or timeline because I
Okay.
too graduated from college 2021,
Yep.
and then I had started, I guess, collecting, or I got first involved with MetaZoo, which was a whole fiasco.
Oh,
I need
yeah.
to do a stream on that in
Yeah.
general. Like, but
Yeah.
anyways, that was February 2021.
Okay.
So through then, but then I got into like Dragon Ball and stuff, was really
Yep.
collecting those.
Yep.
But very similar timeline. I had some Pokemon here and there that would come through trades or
Right.
things I liked, but it wasn't until pretty much early 2024 that I was watching a lot of Rudy, Nostalgianomics, all these
Yep.
content creators where I was like, okay, I have seen enough to know that
Right.
Pokemon cards, I enjoy them, but also at the start of 2021, they were inaccessible. Like I couldn't even buy.
Yes.
It was a Logan Paul
Yes.
fiasco where I couldn't buy like the cards I wanted. So that's why I ended up collecting MetaZoo at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, then early 2024 got into Pokemon. So it was kind of the same trajectory, and then pretty much got lucky at this point where anything that I do have that's appreciated or done well over time has pretty much just been a byproduct of believing in the brand and being like, okay, I don't see how, like, nothing has changed really. It's just people like how they feel about these cards that is changing in these ups and downs in the market. But the company is still like on a very solid trajectory. So I just didn't see.
Like there's no way that this isn't a smart move, right?
Yeah. And it was something that I enjoyed. Dragon Ball community was getting kind of toxic as well.
Sure.
Again, I'm not going to go into that, but like some of those smaller card game communities, you start to know everybody. And at a certain point, and you kind of see it now in Pokemon too, where like when everything you see is negative, you yourself start to feel the negativity as well. And that's when I sort of took a step back and was like, I need a fresh set of eyes on something. And so it ended up being Scarlet and Violet, because I do like to sort of dabble in things where people are saying like it's garbage, it's trash,
it sucks.
Yeah, this is terrible. These are not like the Pokemon people grew up on that are they're gonna like. And I sort of like to double down when I hear that sort of stuff, because that's what you're saying now, but I've been saying it recently because of someone else I've had on the show, Jodo Jake. He brought up a good point with like the Mega Dragonite, for example. I'm like, so many people had this visceral negative reaction to this reveal, and I'm like, as soon as they make an SIR of this card and it's $300+, you're all going to be chasing it. You're all going to be trying to get a PSA 10, and so
that's how it goes. you know, it's a cycle. It always happens. There's ups and downs, and it's always going to go back up. At least you know what we've seen with Pokemon.
Why did DBZ get toxic? The whole loss? No, so I'm saying the community itself got kind of toxic, where it was just people were so negative and bearish on Bandai, which, to their point, Bandai would reprint everything into the ground to such an extent. I think they did it with Digimon too, maybe, where it like, I understand wanting to collect things for collecting's sake, but at a certain point too, a lot of people do want their collectibles to retain value, and so they were not making the cards that people wanted. They were not making the Gokus, the Vegetas. They were making like these off-brand characters that people didn't want. But anyways, good intro. Back to, I guess, kind of what I want to get into. How do you see the state of the hobby right now? Like, and of course, I want to pick your brain on it as a business owner, but just as someone who is in the space. Let's say the business is not a component of your life right now, and you want to get involved. Like, how do you see things right now? Is it tough? Like, you know, have you tried to go to like retail or anything? Or even PC drops, like anything like that. It feels very difficult, or like there's kind of a high barrier to entry for newbies.
I want to focus on that high barrier to entry. Exactly. I think it's tough. To answer your question, I think it's tough. You know, and the average Pokemon card collector, I think, has, so when you're in the space day in, day out, you're aware of the vocabulary, you know, the tools, the services that everyone is using, everyone is pushing. You know, this is how you get product. This is Notify or all these other Discords and the Pokemon Center queue. Like, you're aware of these things because you're in it and you're interested in it. But I don't think the average Pokemon card collector is necessarily, you know, involved in that, as I think most of us take for granted. And what I mean by that is just that it's tough for people that are into it, and like, you know, they're aware of release dates, they're aware of product drops, they're aware of, you know, the sites and the tools to use to try and get product. And then just imagine the people that are not as into it, but still enjoy Pokemon, who just want to rip packs and they don't know why they can't. They don't know why it's never stocked. You know, they're not interested in diving too deeply into like understanding it, because that's just the average person. But what that means is that you have a lot of people that are confused, don't understand why this is the state, why they can't rip packs, why nothing's available. And it makes it tough, because I think
they don't understand, but a lot of them are also like, what do I want to say? Like, wanting to get in, like they're caught in some sort of their social media wave where it's like,
I know
Pokemon makes you so much money, or like it's so fun now. There's all these crazy hits, and they're like, oh, I want to get involved, and then they realize there's nothing on the shelves at all. Which
it's a steep. I mean, yeah, it's a steep learning curve to even just trying to understand what you should be looking out for, right? It's like, you know, I think right now these Discord servers that, you know, people can, you know, sign up for, pay a subscription for. It's weird because like it feels like such a weird and unwanted thing in the hobby, but like,
I think it stems from sneaker reselling culture, not even just sneakers. Like, there are groups for literally everything. I've seen people who resell like Stanley Cups and stuff.
Sure. So, yeah, no, I know.
But I think they've capitalized on the fact that maybe that wasn't as prevalent. I feel like it was maybe in 2021, but when the hobby died down, then there wasn't a reason to buy products, maybe because everything was accessible, both in the store and online. You couldn't
you're not going to make money.
But I would say that, like, I think even with the stores and big box being relatively barren, and probably a lot of LGS is actually struggling to get a big chunk of product like they used to, I would think that, I know we talked a little bit about vending before this, but I would think that the card shows actually are filling maybe a much needed gap as of right now, in terms of, if a kid or whoever can't get access to product to open, maybe they could go buy the singles that they like from this person's table with the binders or whatever, because that really wasn't a thing more than a little over a year ago, I want to say. And it's like a huge, I mean, it's kind of like, it's not the same as like the rip and ships or the streams, but it's having an impact, in my opinion, like to that sort of degree, where everyone's doing vendor POVs, everyone's going to these card shows. It's like part of their regular routine now, to where, I mean, you have thousands. The last show I did at in Tacoma Front Row, they were expecting 3,000 people, I think. They had 6,000 something fill up.
Wow.
So it was like double the amount of people they projected to be there showed up. And so it just kind of shows you how many people really want to be involved in the hobby, I guess.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the vendor thing, but I also would argue that there's still, like, the average Pokemon card collector, like, is not going to these events. Like, there's the majority of them are not going to them. And, you know, like, if you know where to look, you can go find product. You can find product. It takes time. It takes effort. Like, there is a cost to it, but you can, you know, you can go wait in front of Target, you know, at 5 a.m. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying that you can. But the average collector, I don't think necessarily knows to do all that. And I think
Right.
that's where it gets really tough. And that's where the majority of the sentiment is about, the hobby right now, I think, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's definitely tough. I don't know. Yeah, my best piece of advice is probably just you kind of have to your point, you have to work for it a little bit. And I understand like kids or parents just wanting to get their family like access to products to
Yeah.
open for fun or whatnot. But
Yep.
I don't know. It's maybe just the times we're in, or they could buy a Japanese product. But again, a lot of
Yeah.
them probably don't even know that it
No, I
exists
know
to
exactly.
begin with. Like, yeah, you kind of have to be a little bit in the rabbit hole. But
Yep, definitely.
okay, is there? Okay, I wrote this one down. Is there anything in the market for you specifically that you could be business related or outside of the business that you've been thinking about making a move on? Or I guess I wrote here like overvalued, undervalued. Is there
Mhm.
anything that you think needs to cool off, or is it kind of just like everything as a whole is to the point where it's because I don't know. It feels like this happens where you'll have a certain set or a certain era start to take off, and then
Yeah.
every single set. I mean, you have battle styles at like 300 a box
Right. I
now. You
know.
have
Yeah.
vivid voltage, like all these sets where no one cared about them even a year ago. You could still
Yeah.
get them for 140 a
Right.
box, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess is that just kind of par for the course with the market? Do you think, or is there some
I
things that
mean,
might like the market might become more sophisticated where it starts to kind of funnel things out again a little bit more?
yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing with Sword and Shield is just par for the course. I mean, it's sort of we're just seeing a little. I think we're just seeing it a little earlier than maybe what we saw with Sun and Moon. I think these older set. I say older. It's like the last block. Um, but I think what you see with Sword and Shield, like I think it's I think you definitely have manipulation there, but I don't see anything wrong with the prices going up and up and up. I think that just makes sense. I think given what the market is right now, the hype that we're seeing and have continued to see, um, it doesn't surprise me that they're jumping so high. Um, and so Scarlet with Sword and Shield, I mean, I just it makes sense. I'm just surprised that we're seeing it this early. I guess we're seeing these kind of prices this early. I
I
mean,
think, yeah, now that I think about it, sorry to cut you off.
no, 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 go
Couple
for it.
couple months ago, I just now thought about like why Sword and Shield would have taken off as quick as it did, and I'm thinking that part of it is just because of how in the last, I mean, it's already been a year, which is crazy since,
Yeah,
or about a year since the market really took off. But from that point forward, when you had boxes from Scarlet Violet era pushing into the 200s, and you still had Sword and Shield era boxes in the mid to high 200s, let's say, or low
yep,
300s, I think to your point, it probably is just natural that's kind of how I was evaluating things too.
yeah,
Like there even are certain sets I was saying like Astral Radiance where I'm like I'm not a huge fan of the set, but
right.
it's like
Doesn't matter.
it's significantly cheaper than a lot of these other boxes,
Yeah,
and it's kind of like due to go up, which
yeah,
is frustrating in the sense that like I don't know, maybe there's no skill involved, but also like
yep,
yeah, there at this point Sword and Shield is out of print, like it's
yep,
kind of natural for it to go up over time. But I do think I think there was a point where people are like, why am I buying a $200 Scarlet Violet
yep,
box when there's Sword and Shield era boxes out of print at 300? The
yeah,
risk reward there like isn't worthwhile. So, but Scarlet and Violet, I mean, it continues to like shock me as someone who's like overly bullish on the
yeah,
Scarlet Violet era. I can't even. I
yep.
just posted on my story. I haven't bought anything since Destin Rivals, and I bought a case of Destin Rivals at 1400, which
Oh,
was
nice.
too.
Yeah,
But at the time, I was like,
yeah.
dude,
This
I'm
is
like
big.
sweating over this. Like the
Yeah,
next few days, I like, am I gonna regret this? Like,
I
I don't
know.
know. So that's kind of why I haven't bought anything since then. Even with Mega Evolution, where I had the chance to buy it again at 1400, I was like, I
Yeah,
can't. I have to stick to my guns and just like stick to my fundamentals, my
Yep.
principles of just being like, this feels. I can't see why this should be more expensive than Destined Rivals. I like Destined Rivals a lot, and it had been hyped up for a year. Felt like Mega Evolution kind of came out of nowhere, and it's still outperforming it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Scarlet and Violet is. I don't know if it can be saved. It's kind of my thought.
Yeah, I think we're kind of too far along at this point
Yeah,
for the
just,
older stuff.
and I guess what I mean by that is that I think it's still going to go up. I firmly believe that. And so I think that the idea that you will be able to buy Scarlet and Violet readily, I don't think is really something that you can really bet on.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't mean there won't be reprints. Doesn't mean that there won't be, ancillary product or, booster bundles that you can buy for, 40 to $50. But I think for a lot of Scarlet and Violet, I think that I don't think that we're out of this hype, train anytime soon. I think we have at least another year. And I don't think the reprints are going to be enough. And so, to answer your question, I think Scarlet and Violet is due to climb even more. Doesn't mean that things won't settle or things won't drop, but I think that I don't think reprints are going to be doing enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, and to be fair, like I know this gets talked about a little bit, but
Yeah.
it really needs to be honed in. Like anyone watching, like a lot of this is the company's fault in terms of how they are choosing to go about reprints. And I don't know if it's a symptom of they don't want to repeat what happened with early Sword and Shield era sets that pretty much crashed because they reprinted so much and then the demand or the hype died down.
Yeah.
But I really don't think, unless we see some catastrophic nationwide failure where the whole hobby takes a hit, I don't see why the reprint or like why what's happening in the market will change. Because pretty much every single prediction that I had that I thought was pretty bullish has been already like these are things where I'm like, okay, I'm setting a deadline, like a realistic deadline of 151 or something goes out of rotation next year, that it'll probably be around this price, and it's like exceeded that to a degree where I'm like, okay, I clearly have no idea what I'm talking about.
I know.
have to just like take a step back and let things kind of, if I see opportunities, I'll take advantage, but at the same time, at this point, it's like beyond.
Yep.
I've had this thought process too many times to where I'm like, okay, I don't know as much as I thought I knew, and the market is much stronger than I thought it was. So
yeah, no, so I agree with you. Now one thing that I'm seeing with the business side of things, because I primarily focus on international. I sell English. I do like once a month English drops, but majority of my sales are international. And
like you're shipping internationally?
No, I'm
or you're
selling Japanese, Korean, moving into Simplified Chinese. One thing is Simplified Chinese. I want to call that out. I think the singles prices are bonkers. And I'm not confident that those are the prices that they should be. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend to not understand that exclusives are valuable.
Right.
So Simplified Chinese is a new sort of language that Pokemon has introduced, compared to like traditional Chinese, compared to Japanese, Indonesian, Korean, whatever. And they started Simplified Chinese back in like 2023, I think. And they are catching up in Scarlet and Violet sets. So they are actually behind. I think they literally just released the Obsidian Flames set in Simplified Chinese. But they have other supplementary sets to drive, desire, to drive interest from, not just the Chinese market, but the international market as well. And that's what we're seeing these exclusives for, is to drive that interest. And these exclusives,
those are the gem packs mostly.
So there is the gym packs, there is the 151 surprise, and I can't think of the other ones, but in each of these sets, they tend to have at least one exclusive. And but yes, we're seeing a lot of the gym pack ones are like the hits, the chases are the exclusives. With 151, they kind of split it up into 4 sets. And that's what we saw with the Gengar and the Pikachu. So the Gengar and the Pikachu, they're called triple rares, but they're basically an art rare and illustration rare, and
a harder to hit one.
They're harder to hit, yes. And I don't remember the last time I looked at the price.
Do they have textured cards for Chinese? Like
they do.
They have SIR textures. Okay.
They do. These just don't have textures. Don't ask me why, but because I would prefer if they did have texture.
But on the exclusives specifically, like the Gengar art rare or the evolution ones, those are the standard illustration rare foiling. They're just an exclusive art that's not printed anywhere else.
Correct.
But yeah, they do actually, because now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know where it comes from, but there's the Arcanine.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Banger card.
Yep.
And
I know.
That is SIR texture.
Right.
On that. Okay.
So just to round this out, I think that Simplified Chinese has a lot of room to grow. In terms of singles, I think the hype is there. I think it's a victim of overhype. But they are sought after exclusives. They should be more valued than everything else in the set, even other, even like the Bubble Mew, right? Like in Simplified Chinese is what I mean. And so I just want to call that out. I think that Simplified Chinese is on the come up. I think that the exclusive rares that you see in those sets I think the hype is valid. I'm not recommending you, invest in them, but keeping an eye on Simplified Chinese. And I've already said it myself, and I think we're going to have a lot of other people say it, in a couple months, like, man, I wish I hadn't skipped out on that, Simplified Chinese set.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's the most fair assessment I've heard, which is like acknowledging that the singles are probably a little bit juiced up, but knowing that if these do not get reprinted in any other language, there is an element to that. There are going to be Gengar collectors who will want that card regardless of kind of where it settles out. Granted, it might be a little high now because it's brand new, sort of
the FOMO.
And just like the whole hype around the language, I feel like is new. Because I was, as soon as I saw the most recent hype around I think it was a black label Gengar sold for like 20K or something.
Yeah.
I tried to look of all things. I tried to look at like a first edition Chinese Charizard, Charizard, to see if they were like, and I was like, oh no, these have already. I was way too late to the train on these. But I was like, this would be the pinnacle centerpiece to get for if I wanted a Chinese position.
I know.
But okay, so let me ask you.
Sure.
So you do Japanese, some Chinese, and some other languages like Korean and maybe or something like that. What would you say your like ratio or percentage is of each of those languages? Like how much of it, and maybe also like where would you want to be ideally? I guess like is it 70% Japanese, 20% Chinese? Yeah.
So to be clear, I sell sealed product. I don't sell singles. It's just sealed product. And so, I mean, to give you a little bit of a backstory, my business didn't really see any sort of growth for like the first 8 or 9 months. And it wasn't really until I started posting daily and really doubling down on the content creation that my audience grew, therefore my customer base grew. So I'm still trying to figure out what my customers want. And right now, I would say probably, I'd say probably 70% of my sales are Japanese. You know, and then the rest is kind of a mix of, you know, English product that I can get my hands on for, you know, cheap, or, you know, Korean boxes that I can sell to some local people that I have some relationships with. Um, but majority of it is Japanese. And I think that that's where a small business owner like myself, I think, wants to be, at least in terms of the short to midterm, uh, because Japanese is plentiful.
Right.
You know, you can buy tons of product without any sort of worry that it's going to be sold out. Um, Now, the long term is, and this is sort of just business strategy, is I want to sell more product so that I can have an argument later on down the line when distribution opens up for English product. I can be like, hey, you know, I sell X amount. I've averaged X amount over, you know, the past year and a half. And,
You
you know,
have like a track record or like credibility for
right. Yeah,
paying
exactly.
X amount a month on product and selling through it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So short to midterm, I think I'm still sticking with, you know, 60+% Japanese, and really doubling down on that. Maybe I open up more positions in simplified Chinese, um, and just being able to do that. But that's sort of where I'm at right now.
yeah. I mean, again, I think that is what most new businesses or small businesses in the Pokemon hobby probably should do, is definitely start with Japanese, just because you can get your hands on it right now, at least
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like the margin on English, at least at the time, a year or two ago when I got like heavily involved in the Scarlet Violet era, the margin is just not there. People are selling boxes
Right.
for 80, 90 a box. They probably get them for like low 80s, or, you
Yeah.
know, after shipping and fees, like they're making just a few dollars a
Yep.
box. And so you probably can get a similar margin from Japanese. But to your point, I mean, and I think this is kind of how Pokemon grew to such a
Yeah.
scale, is like he
Yeah.
was so good at the social media, the TikTok,
Yep.
YouTube, like business content and stuff, to where he garnered such a large, and he did really good like MSRP drop marketing, pretty
Yeah.
much. I saw on Instagram where like
Yep.
he'd use ManyChat and get a bunch of people
Yep.
on his email list. I
Yep.
think he said he had like 80,000 people on his
I
email list
know.
or
Yeah,
something.
I know.
And it's like, no matter what product you sell, it could be Chinese, Japanese, English,
Yeah.
whatever. You have 80,000 people and you put a shotgun blast email out there for things at a relatively decent price, like the odds are you're going to get
Yeah,
some
you're gonna get
sales.
sales.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that, I think, and that's really why I wanted to have you on too, is because I feel like a lot of people don't understand that, and maybe you're figuring that out real time as you start to go through like the content growing at the scale it's growing. But it really is as simple as like the more eyeballs you can get on your business, probably the more likely you are to be able to turn it into sales. And I think a lot of businesses just they don't see the value in social media, or they think it's too much hard work, which it is very hard work.
Yeah.
But if you can't understand that literally every brand, every business nowadays is on social media, and that's like a huge part of their, whether they pay for ads or whether they just do it organically. I don't know. I think you're like doing your business a disservice in the long term if you really want to be around for a long period of time. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree. I imagine we'll get into it.
Yeah. Last thing on like just the general market, and then we'll really dive into like the business stuff.
Sure.
And let me take son of a Merc's question real quick, because he said, curious what happens when the scalpers fade. Not sure when or how, but they're here's to hoping. Yeah. My take would be, I think we still do. I think we stay like at least relatively afloat. Maybe we drop 10, 20% on certain things, but I feel like the scalpers are what's contributing to things continuing to go higher. Like that sort of explanation I had about like, okay, I have no grasp on the hobby anymore because every standard or rule that I set for myself has been exceeded in every single way. I feel like scalpers or botters or whoever are playing a big part of that. If they're just sweeping all the product off the table, then the people that still want to get access to things have to buy it at market, and kind of that might be part of the reason what pushes things higher. But I think like ever since really Pokemon Pocket came out, you had like an influx of people around that time.
Yeah.
And again, that was around Twilight, Surging Sparks time, where I do think every time we go through these sort of cycles, our baseline number of people involved in the hobby is greater than the previous boom. Like I think there's more people involved now than there was in COVID.
Yep.
But at the same time, it all depends on like how much Pokemon is printing. If they're printing more than they were back then, and then the demand goes away, but they keep the faucet running, then that's when you can see things drastically decrease. But I do think they are approaching things in a more strategic way, where there is, I mean, I don't think it can be denied that there's just far fewer. There might be more booster boxes being printed in Scarlet Violet than Sword and Shield, but just for the amount of people that want them, or the LGSs or the stores putting in orders right now, they are intentionally not choosing to do booster boxes. It feels like they do a few reprints here and there, but it feels like they're really funneling everything through big box. So I'm curious to see, when scalpers fade, if that just means full shelves, but like the market is still like relatively flat. I don't know. I'm not sure if like more product on the shelf necessarily means that sets need to tank in price. Granted, if a bunch more singles get opened because now there's people actually opening the products, that could affect the market. But I don't know. What's your take?
No, I mean, the problem is, well, it depends on your viewpoint. If you're looking to open the latest and greatest set, that is one thing. And, I think we see a lot more products for, the upcoming mega sets, at some point next year. I do think that because I know that Pokemon has bought out another printing company, and that they're waiting until 2026 for them to finish up their previous commitments to then start focusing on ramping up product, more product. But I think they're going to focus on the new sets. And that's kind of what I mean by, I think this ship has sailed for Scarlet and Violet. I think if you're looking for, if you're looking to pick up, Prismatic at some point, I don't see it happening. It doesn't matter if scalpers are here or not. Like, from a business perspective, Pokemon's going to be wanting to put all that effort into printing more mega stuff.
I mean, by the time they get the printers up and running, there's probably going to be a new specialty set that is what they're trying to hype up.
Exactly. So when scalpers are done, I think that people will be able to more readily buy the latest and greatest. But Scarlet and Violet, I don't see it being a thing anymore.
I think that's a fair take. Sweet. Zenforce Live. What's up, Peak That Chew? How you doing? Chan Free, what's up? Okay. We're going to dive into, I mean, we sort of already touched on the business side of things, but I really want to deep dive into like how you not only structure your business, but kind of how you go about your day-to-day, and just maybe inform some people who have thought about taking the leap, but don't know where to start. And so for me, and this is a question I selfishly wanted to ask because I have family, friends, girlfriend. I've been fishing a lot this summer, which I was not into before, but now I am for some reason. And so how do you balance like fulfilling orders and stuff with the content creation side of things? Or because I mean, even before you joined this, you published a video, so I was like, this guy is like the meat and potatoes, the real deal. Like I can tell that you are, I don't know if you're on a strict schedule, but you are like sticking. I've tried it many times and I've failed, where I'm like, I'm going to do 3 reels a week, or I'm going to do 1 video, 2 reel. Like, how do you get yourself in that mindset and kind of where you're at right now?
Okay. So story time. So back in May, I was sort of at my, last ditch effort for the business. This was probably 8 or 9 months in. I had thought that I was doing the right things. I was, supplying, I had inventory, I was getting the latest sets. I was posting, but it wasn't the right kind of posts. And I really had thought I had tried everything. And it wasn't until this another Pokemon business that I had been following posted a couple of his stuff where he was showing, some of the numbers that he was bringing in, and I was like, "What the heck? How is he doing that?" And then he posted a challenge, basically a 30-day challenge. We're like, "Hey, I want you to just get in front of the camera, make a reel that has your face in it, something about Pokemon, something about your business, and just do it for 30 days and just see what that takes you." And I think at the time, it was May 18th. I was at 500 something followers on Instagram.
Wow.
And I just committed to the challenge of posting a reel every single day. And I think by the end of the 30 days, I was at around 800 or 900 followers. So I gained 300 followers, and that felt to me, huge. I think I had 1 or 2 videos that got above 10,000 views out of the 30, and I was stoked. And that gave me the motivation to keep going. And I kind of just never stopped. So I've posted a reel every single day since May 18th.
Whoa.
I think it's probably at 130 something days, maybe.
Holy.
And yeah, so that's where I'm at. To answer your question, it's really tough to balance. So I have a full-time job. I have a girlfriend, I have a life outside of it. For a long time, the content was eating up everything. And there was several times between now and then that I've been burnt out and was just like, don't want to keep it going. And so, what I've found is just optimizing things. I think one thing that's super important to recognize is that when you're consistent like that, you're going to get so much better, day in, day out, you're doing the things that, you're supposed to be doing. You're just going to get more efficient. You're going to be better. You're going to think about things a little bit differently, and, strategy is going to be a little bit different, and it's going to improve. And so, now I tend to, to be honest, I've been a little sick the past couple of days, but usually I will batch my content, for the week. I'll script everything. I'll come up with all my videos and I'll script it all maybe on a weekday, maybe Wednesday night or something. And then Sunday is filming day where I'll film all 7 videos and I'll start editing them. And, at that point I'll have, 2 to 7 videos edited for the week. And
that is really impressive though, because I know part of the consistency thing that's awesome is you'll learn shortcuts to whether you use CapCut or DaVinci or whatever you use, but just being able to stick it out and do video after video is actually very impressive. So I will give you kudos on that, because for me, whenever I've edited things and listened to it back a million times, I'm like, dude, is this even what I like? I'm so far from where I started, where I'm like, am I too deep into this? Where it's going to be things that people want, or what they've already been expecting. But ultimately, I think it's kind of what you're talking about, which is you kind of just have to take things for what it is and stay consistent. I think consistency is time and time again what I hear to be the most important thing.
And I think something that's helped me, at least mentally, is that, and this I've said this before and people have taken it the wrong way, and I get it, but I'm not here to be a content creator. I'm here to sell Pokemon cards. And I know that sounds a little cold, but that alone has been the thing that has driven my motivation the most, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see a whole lot of sales until I started posting daily, because my audience was 500 people. And those were those were follow backs, to be clear. Those are people that I had, I followed 1,000 people when I first started the account and 500 followed back. So I didn't have any customer base. And so it wasn't until I started to grow my audience that I started to have people want to buy my products. And so I think maybe it's unhealthy. I don't know. Maybe this will come back to bite me in the long run. But my thought, at least right now, is if I give up on content creation, if I give up on this streak, I'm kind of giving up on growing the business. It's kind of me, settling with where I'm at now. And I'm not content with where I'm at now with the business. So
do you think there would ever be a point where you're, I don't want to say content, but content to the point where you could say, all right, instead of 7 reels, I'm going to do 3 or 4 higher quality. I mean, I think yours are already like top like 10% of what.
Thank you.
Well, of what people like, the effort that people need to be putting in to like at least get.
Yeah.
And again, I think when I go to your page, it's like I know exactly what I'm getting.
Yep.
It's very consistent. Like if I was there for news, I know I can expect something. And so do you think at some point, if I guess like I'm trying to see, like, I guess there will always be news to be had for market news or like news sets or artists or whatever. So maybe there is always something going on, but I don't know if you would ever change that strategy in the long term.
So
I mean, to be more sustainable, like maybe you could still batch but do three reels instead of 7.
Yeah, no, I mean, realistically, this is not sustainable forever. It's just not. I think so. When I first started this business, my goal was I would like to make enough profit to pay my bills. Like I have
rent or something.
Yeah, like I have a good enough job where like, I don't need that, but it would be fun if I could, start a business myself selling, products that I'm passionate about and like have enough money to like actually, have an impact on my life. And I think that is still like the number one goal. If things go bigger, awesome, but that's still the goal. And one thing that's tough with kind of downsizing and setting more realistic expectations for myself is that like I'm still seeing success. Like I'm still seeing growth and I'm seeing more sales. I'm seeing more people on the site. Like that is addictive. And I think that like I don't know.
Sometimes you can get too comfortable when that starts to happen too, because honestly that's what happened to me. It was like I had a few reels like reach 100K views or 50K views, and I'm still getting follows a few per day from those reels. But I'm like, dude, I haven't posted in like a month. I need to like get back on the train and like really develop. I've heard like Jodo Jake again. He's been on. He is smaller, to closer to my size, but he is someone who is really good at graphic design, and he started doing. I think he got burnt out too, but he started doing batched content too, and like swears by it. So I definitely need to try. My only thing is like sometimes, especially if I'm like more market focused, I have a hard time where I'm like, can I batch this if the price is going to be different like 3 days from now? But there are still like, there's things where you could give tips or helpful advice, or like the artist things where it's like those are not going to change on a day-to-day basis. So you could pre-record those still.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if I'm being honest, like my audience isn't investors. It's not people who have extensive Pokemon knowledge.
Right.
It's for what I said earlier, the average Pokemon card collector who doesn't know, what a case of Pokemon boxes is. Like they don't know what the term a case means. And so like being able to create series that are geared towards them makes my life easier because I don't have to be on the cutting edge and understanding of the latest and greatest stuff that's going on. So that's really benefited me.
I would argue that you're addressing the largest audience as well. Like,
sure. And that
investors and the market people are like a smaller, let's say 20-30% of the market, maybe. maybe.
Right.
But the vast majority are people that we talked about, people that
Yep.
are wanting to buy product to open every single day, or just have time with their kids or friends or family, whatever.
Yeah.
But so I would say don't underestimate it, because even with the like investing content or market content, when I first with the videos that have done the best for me, or the short form, the reels or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
whole framework when I made them was, what would I explain to myself in 2021,
Right.
knowing what
Yeah.
I know now in the
Yep.
position that I'm in? And those have performed the best. And I've since fallen off the wagon on it. But I guess my point is, like, sometimes dumbing down a lot of things that you think are simple still is like reaching a
Yeah.
large group of people, especially with new people coming in constantly right now. Like the amount of people
100%.
that don't know the info you're providing is still like very valuable.
Yeah. So one thing that has stuck with me. So in those first 30 days, I was like 100% committed. I was like in the zone. That's all I was thinking about is content creation. How do I get better at content creation so I can sell more Pokemon cards? And so I was binging all these content creation videos and gurus and things like that. And I learned a lot. And like one of the biggest things was just like, yeah, you want to speak. I'm not saying anyone here, but you want to speak to your general audience like you're speaking to like a fifth grader,
Right.
making sure that you're not using words that they might not understand. And when you're talking about complex things, being able to break it down to more simpler terms so that, people aren't confused or what's the word, not offended, but like, they want to, tip their nose up to you because you're acting smart or whatever.
Right.
And so that's been a key focus, in every single video that I do, is making sure that the script is good enough for a fifth grader. That's it.
So you'll write a script out, let's say, and then if you go back through and you feel like it's too complex, you might say, is there a way I can simplify this sentence down a little bit more, or like use less, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, hobby, like you would
Yeah.
need to be involved in the hobby more to understand what this term is.
I try to. Yeah.
Okay. Peak that shoe, Zippy. Do you feel at your size now that you're unique in the space? Does that matter to you? So many people have told me to make tons of content, but I've always been afraid of losing my niche / myself.
Do you feel at your size that you're unique in the space? No. I think Pokemon is a huge space, and there are so many creators that I'm seeing day in, day out that are new to me, that all of a sudden, like, I'll go to their page and have 50,000 followers. Like the space is so huge that, you really have to be enormous, to really, I think, even be considered unique. I'll say that my content, I think, is a little bit different than the typical Pokemon creator, but I don't know if like my size makes me feel unique compared to others. I think that my content is sort of in this middle ground of people that, well, I won't say that. It doesn't matter to me.
But it's kind of like what I said earlier, where it's like, if I go to your page, I see your lit background, your red and white caption or thumbnail text. So I kind of know, like, that
Right.
in essence has become a part of your brand.
Yeah.
Also, even though it might not make you feel unique, but to your point, people can
Yeah.
identify you well enough to.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are a lot of people who make really good content that is like super raw, and they'll post like as they just flip the camera and they'll make a great video, and that is one entire side of Pokemon content creation. There's another side where they're like ripping packs, and that's all they do. And I feel like I feel like I put more effort into sort of just like the weird news, illustration, Pokemon, tips and things. Like, I don't know if a whole lot of people are doing that with the effort that I'm putting into it. So I guess in maybe that sense, it's unique. But do I feel unique in terms of my size and like afraid of losing my niche and self? No. Ask me again in 100,000 followers, and then we'll reconsider.
I mean, since 500 since May, that's like insane. I mean, what would that be, like 20x or
Yeah. So I just passed
more than 20x.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. But I think that's kind of what I was saying earlier. I think like I'm not seeing growth like I'm not seeing growth slow down, and so I don't have a reason to kind of reel things back.
Or change up, like don't fix what
Yeah.
isn't broken. Yeah. Okay, he follows up. FYI, I interview a lot of really popular, impactful people on a seasonal podcast and have gotten huge names: Leon Hart, Dubsy, TCA Gaming, Charlie, Herlocker, etc. And feel like a pivot would go against what I do. Honest question, as I've been told, I shoot myself in the foot by not putting out more mass market content. I will just speak to this and say that I think there are ways to repackage probably some of the stuff that you guys talk about, or even the reel itself. You could do a voiceover or something like that and say, like, this is what, you know, the largest or someone with 2.5 million subscribers said about, like, there are probably ways to repackage it. But I will say probably most of the people watching the seasonal names are involved to the point where they'll be there every time, but maybe it doesn't grow as fast as, like, what you're saying, a more a massive audience, like something more simplified or
Yeah. And one thing that I'll say is like, if you want to do something, like if you are in this to be creative and enjoy yourself, then like, I don't see why you should prevent yourself from doing things that you want to do. Now, if you're focused on the numbers and growth and, you know, it's more analytical and more of a game, then like at that point, kind of go into what Zach is saying, how do you reframe some of your content a little bit? And that could also mean, you know, maybe make a new account that's geared towards a completely different thing, but also like use your other account as leverage saying, hey guys, I made this new account. It does this, this, and this. If you're interested in that, go there. And that'll, you know, already start you on a base. But at that point, you're starting from scratch and you're going to have to work hard at it. But I don't know. That's kind of.
Yeah. My advice would be, if there's something you are genuinely like interested in making content on or have thought about, figure out a way to make it maybe appeal to more people if you're worried about like the growth aspect. But honestly, no matter what you do, you're going to lose followers, friends, supporters if you pivot, like no matter what. Like I've had people do the same thing to me, and I'm, you know, still very, very small, but I think it's just a part of the game. Yeah. And I think as you grow larger, you start to become less like the people that genuinely care about you will stick around and support you, like no matter what you pivot to. So definitely
100%
keep that in mind. But I think like I mean, starting a new account is definitely tough in the sense that like you really are building from the ground up. Yep. But if you wanted to retain your current audience and like practice something new, you definitely could play around with that. I'm someone who's just like, F it, I'm just gonna see what sticks and go from there. But
100%.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I wanted to ask you. Okay, he has one more question. Then we'll ask you one. Interested in interviewing people that creators never get on. Struggle with the time sink aspect, but enjoy hearing your opinions. I'll be the guy people will never forget, kind of remember. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I really am like, I'm someone who, until I made a couple shorts that like got me an insane amount of followers, at least on Instagram. I think Instagram is the most powerful. I think it's more valuable than TikTok currently, in my opinion. Just do like with our hobby specifically, maybe
Pokemon.
There are other hobbies or people who just talk to their camera and like can engage in a more natural way.
Yeah.
I think TikTok does really well. It does well on Instagram too, but I feel like you need a little bit more editing than that, because I have tried that and I've seen people in the Pokemon space who just use a clipping tool or some sort of way to just take parts of their podcast or live stream and just put it on short form, which is fine if you want to get more content out there, by all means. But I'm just saying they don't they don't hit any metrics above what they normally do, because they're not really trying. They're just putting the short form content out there just to put it out there, as opposed to like approaching it from
Strategically.
strategically, or even like kind of analyzing who my target audience is.
Yeah.
But no, dude, you can. I mean, you can drop questions whenever you want. So
We're just hanging out.
Yeah, everyone go support Peak Dat Choose streams as well. I know he does some. He gets some big guests for sure. So appreciate you leaving some comments in the chat. But Logan, I want to ask, just because again, I'm curious selfishly, how do you figure out, like, and maybe it's with the content or maybe it's with the business, but how do you figure out like what, I guess you have your North Star, because you kind of just said my goal here. It's interesting that you said that, because I would have thought it would have been the other way around, where it's like selling cards is a byproduct of like the content I make.
I know.
You are very much saying like the content is a means. And I agree with that. Like, I was in the exact same boat, and I still am, because I'm not making like recurring passive income from social media or anything to where, or like a website to where, but my goal was always, can I pay my rent with the side hustle? And you can do that with the vending, like we talked about, but that's so much more physical labor. You're there for 8 hours or 9 hours. I'm like, can I do this in a way where it's like set up where I could get sales in the back end without me having to do anything? But I guess, my question is, how do you in the day-to-day orient yourself for like your goal, which is, I guess in this case, to scale the business? Like, is it really as simple as like, I just need to keep doing what I'm doing, put out a piece of content every day, and until I see something that's not working, I'm going to keep doing this? Or how do you think of it?
That's a lot of it, to be honest. Is, like, I'm seeing people interact and engage, and having call to actions in almost every single video, or it's in the comments, or I have a story up that links to my site. Like, that is enough for me to understand that we are still on the path. Would I love more sales? Absolutely. Would I give up all of this content and all of my followers if it meant that I would get $1 million in sales a year? Yes. But that's just like, that's the reality is that I'm getting customers from my audience, and as long as I am aware of providing enough avenues for followers to get to my site, it has seemed to be enough to get sales. And so that's the
okay. Let me ask it a different way then, because that's very clear cut, like how you're operating. So then I guess to peel back the onion a little bit more, when you are scripting your reels or strategizing what you're going to record for the week, I'm curious what your thought process is then, in terms of how do I decide what I want to record on? Is it this? And then from there, how do you make it engaging enough that people are going to want to stick around? I know you kind of have a formula figured out where you have a series, episode 1, episode 2. How do you
You're answering my questions for me.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, because if the sales are the North Star and it's like figuring out ways to get people to get there, and what you're doing is working, then I'm curious, okay, I go to batch every week. How do I decide what I'm going to record? Or
so I've kind of dialed it into maybe 3 or 4 series that I do, and series are the way to create consistent content easily. Not easy in terms of making the content, but easy in terms of you don't have to brainstorm what you're going to do for the day. and I've created some series that are almost never ending. Like I have a ton of like I can just pick, so I have a series where I do, the top 5 most popular Pokemon cards for a specific illustrator. Well, I have a list of all of the illustrators that I could do, and that list is like 50, 60, plus people. And you just do a little bit of research and find your cards, and then you make the script. So, anyways, having those series is super important to just being able to be efficient with content creation. Now, in terms of the series that I do, it's kind of geared towards that average collector, I'd say. It's geared towards a little bit of every series is geared towards a little bit of a different aspect of the average collector. The artist is geared towards the people who collect Pokemon cards based off of a singular artist. Okay, well, I know that people are going to enjoy that because that's entertaining. Well, I have another series where it's the top 5 of a specific set, and that's going to be geared more towards the investor. But it's also not like super detailed and analytical that it's going to appeal to like, kind of the specific investor, but more about the person who collects and is somewhat interested in prices.
Right.
And then I have another series where it's called like Pokemon Cards 101. And that is every single episode is specific to something about the Pokemon collecting experience that someone might not know. I gave an example earlier about Pokemon cases, right? We know that a Pokemon case is, a big cardboard box full of 6 booster boxes. Well, the average mom or dad that is, hearing their son or daughter talk about Pokemon cards all the time, and they hear what a case is, they're like, what does that mean? Well, if my video pops up on their feed, now all of a sudden they know. And again, it's cold to think about it, but like that is a potential customer, a mom or a dad that sees my video. At the end, they see a call to action. If you want to buy Pokemon cards, go to my store. And so that's sort of just what I keep in mind with every script. Like, and in terms of news, right? Like, building hype around Pokemon card sets with news is super, super impactful, right? Like Inferno X, for example, is the latest Japanese set that just came out last weekend. And, the 2 weeks leading up to it, we got a ton of news about leaks, about rumors, and that just builds so much hype and it gets people wanting to buy
People
it.
will share, like those are the ones that get shared a lot, where people send them to their friends. Like, look at this is coming out.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just the strategy, man. I think, and being consistent with those, like it feels like I have found this gold mine that like is not super hard to have found. And it just like, I just know that as long as I keep producing high quality videos, and that target audience continues to be a thing, the average collector, and maybe not the investors like overtake everyone and now it's 80% of the market or the consumer base. I know that will be successful.
To be fair, if you needed to adjust, you could, like,
yes,
at some point, like if that became a reality, like I'm sure you could figure it out, knowing like how to create engaging stories and keep people like locked into the reel. I feel like.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other ways that I've tried to make content that just hasn't worked because it's so much more competitive. Like opening packs is a very easy thing to film and to edit and to make entertaining. It's just like what's next, right? Like every single video is that. But one, it's expensive, and two, everyone else is doing it as well. So it's not that you can't make high quality pack ripping videos and experiences. It's just that you're competing with such a huge number of videos that are doing it just the same, if not better than you are.
Yeah, you would have to. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say you would if everyone's doing it, you would have to either have the personality or be funny or something to where you
Yeah.
have an edge over 99% of other people just opening a pack, hoping they're gonna get a gold Mega Lucario,
Yeah.
and you have to rip 1,200 packs to get it or whatever it is.
I know, like, and that's sort of what I first started doing when I first started my business was, pack opening videos, and I'm just like, it sucks when had 5 videos in a row and you haven't pulled anything,
Like, no
especially
one's gonna
Japanese,
wanna
right? It's like 5 cards. Well, that was a quick 10-second video.
but
Uh,
there are people like, again, I know, like, Powder is one that I'm thinking
yeah,
of where he does it in a good way. There are people who are able to build suspense for even a terrible pack opening,
yeah,
like the you don't get a good hit or whatever, or
yeah,
they'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna open this legendary collection pack today." Oh, just kidding. I'm actually sticking
yeah,
to one
right.
star, and he kind of baits you, but you're like kind of pissed off, and then you're like, "Fuck,
And you
I'm
keep
gonna watch
watching.
the rest of it." Yeah. So there are ways around it, but I would agree.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people probably just don't break it down to the degree that you are, which I think I'm
yeah,
like so happy that you're kind of sharing the insight you are because
yeah,
it's helpful to me too. Like even just thinking of a good way to batch could be creating 2 or 3 series. Like I said, it's hard for me, it feels like,
yeah,
because sometimes I'm more market oriented and prices can
yeah,
change constantly. But if I did 1 video or 2 videos that are market oriented and the other ones maybe some sort of tips or advice that's like unchanging or evergreen
right.
content, there's
Yeah.
still ways to batch or get out a lot of content without feeling like I guess you're
Yep.
hopeless in that way. But
Yeah, and that's sort of what I like. The consistency is key, but what I attribute most of the success to that I feel like I've found is again, it feels cold to say it, but like I'm not here to be a creator. Like I'm here I'm here to gamify it, right? I'm
Bro's
here
crushing it.
I'm here to have a strategy, and that's what I mean, when I completely dived into all this content creation content the first 30 days, like I was like in it. I know all these, well, I think I know all these things about the algorithms and sort of what you want and all these things. And so like having gone through all that work, and it's just like I just I'm not self-professing that I'm like this amazing content creator, but like there is strategy to every single thing that I do. It doesn't mean that everyone is successful. But just the fact that like if you compare consistency with just strategically getting better, man, there's no way that you don't succeed. There really isn't.
Yeah. No, I definitely am a believer in the sort of I don't know if 1% better every day is actually a realistic goal, but
Yeah.
something like that where it's like even just again learning different shortcuts in how you film
Yeah.
or like a different transition or a trending sound effect and things like
Right.
that. Like I don't think people break things down on that level until they're really in the weeds or until they've published enough content to see to finally or once they have one reel that finally pops
Yeah.
off and it's like you got to hone into what caused that reel to really
Yeah.
do super well. But
Yeah.
again, it's hard to replicate all the time, but just understanding those different components is important.
And, with the consistency paired with that, it's like, you can afford to, like
Yeah,
not put a huge amount of effort into a couple of videos because you
right.
know that, 50 days from now, you'll have 50 videos that, one of those you'll have improved upon. And it's like,
Right.
that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you now because I just
Yeah.
thought of it. How did you come up with the intro to all your videos? Because I don't because
Yeah.
again, that's like a calling card or like a unique
It's weird, right?
aspect where I'm like, this guy, like I want it. There was a point where I was like, does he do this every video? And I scroll down and I'm like, it's like genius because it is kind of like it's not the same as like Pat or Deep Pocket Monsters.
Yeah.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
Yeah.
Where he has like a jingle where it's like universally known.
Yeah. Yeah.
But throwing the card over your shoulder, there's not many people that are doing that. And I feel like it's a smooth transition into the video. So how did you come up
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that?
No, it's weird how it's weird how it happened. So I started the Pokemon Cards 101 series, and basically, again, that's a series where every single video is between 50 and a minute and a half of explaining something around the Pokemon collecting space, TCG, whatever. And one particular video, maybe the video that I started, I don't know, it was the first 5 or so. I focused on the TCG Live code cards that you get in a pack. And I had the code card in my hand, and I was like, I wanted to do something to catch the viewer's attention within the first 2 seconds about code cards. And so I had it up, and I was like, here, and I threw it behind me. And that video was probably the first video that really popped off. Don't ask me why, but that was the moment where I was like, huh, that was weird. And then I had a friend actually message me. He was like, hey, dude, I think you might need to continue with this, flicking the card thing over. And I was like, I was thinking the same thing. And from then on, it's like, that's been the thing, because at least in my head, like, the strategy is you really need to hook that person within the first 2 seconds, and I don't have anything visually that's Pokemon. Right. I really don't. That's my content. But if you just look at my videos, I don't have booster boxes in the back. I don't have.
I should do that with a booster box and just.
Yes, toss it behind you, just like
crush my heart. Yeah. Oh, there goes $200.
And so, I felt like I needed something to make sure that people knew that what I was talking about was Pokemon cards. And so, combined with the TCG code card intro and just that strategy thought process of like, how do I get Pokemon to the forefront of my videos every single time? So, well, Pokemon cards. And so I have some pretty beat up Pokemon cards that are just kind of sitting around.
I love it because it's, sometimes there's an English card, sometimes there's a Japanese card.
Yeah.
And it's like a perfect way to sort of like give, I don't know how to explain it, like depth perception sort of, and then you throw it out of the way and then you become the focus of the video. It's a really, whether you meant to do it or not, it has ended up being like a really good calling card.
Yeah.
I would say you're the first one. I mean, it makes me think of like Cool Trainer Ryan when he used to like flick cards.
Yeah.
His garbage can, but
I appreciate it. It's cool.
No, yeah. And again, I don't think that's really something a lot of people are thinking about, but it is, to your point, your thought behind it was, how can I capture the viewer's attention within the first couple seconds? Because generally that is like the most important part of the video, is like hook, or like, how do I get them to like commit to watching this video?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to ask this one off stream. More about the back end stuff. But what are your, well, I guess you kind of answered this already, short-term and long-term goals for the business side of things? So maybe let's say like, let's put a number to things, or it doesn't have to be like a dollar revenue amount, but just like, where would you like to be? Let's say, I don't want to say a year from now. Let's say in like 6 months, and then could you see yourself doing this for, if things continue on the path that they're on, could you continue to see yourself doing this 3-5 years from now, or even full time at some point and like fully committing?
Yeah. So in 6 months,
what looks like success to you in 6 months, I guess, is like a good question.
What looks like success is consistent growth. And I know that's an easy answer, so I'll come up with something a little bit better.
But so let's define that. Is that just more sales? Is that more followers? Is it the combination of both? Is it, these certain series continuing to get more views or do better? Like, how are you going to, I know followers and sales are probably the easiest way to gauge that.
Yeah, it's all about sales. Like I really like Pokemon. Like I genuinely enjoy it. Like that's a passion of mine. When I started this business though, that's the point. And like that's why I won't say it like this, but that's why I don't rip my own packs. Because the goal is the business. So in terms of what I would deem as successful in 6 months, like I would like to be selling probably close to, I'd like to say in 6 months, I would like to say that I have sold probably $15,000 to $20,000 in sales, in revenue, not profit, over the past like 3-4 months, like every month. Because again, like I'm not some big shot shop. Like, like I talked about this because I have a podcast with another business, and I was talking about how my audience of 14,000 followers, only half of them are in the US. And so, you cut that in half. So that's 7,000
Right.
people you can sell to. But anyways, yeah, I think that getting to a point where it's not just like a lucky month, but like having consistently sold between, $15,000 to $20,000 in revenue, is sort of what I would say is a I would deem that as a success. And I know that there's a lot of people, a lot of rip and shippers, a lot of other businesses that make a lot more than that.
Right.
But just the way that I've done it, the way that I'm thinking about it, that's my goal.
I think that's a realistic, like, you had such a long pause that I was like, what is the number this man is about
Yeah.
to say? I think that's a realistic goal.
Yeah. And
again,
that's yeah.
no, it's a lot of work, but it's, again, I think this is kind of the natural progression of what you've been building up to. If you keep doing the content at the pace you're doing, you're growing the same pace, you could theoretically get X amount of customers. I don't know if it breaks down, because that was the other question I was going to ask, was about Shopify. I need to make a Shopify store just so I can get more of the metric side of things if I were ever. But do you ever sell? So, okay, backing up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you only sell through the website, or would you eventually list anything on eBay or do sales through Instagram if someone DM'd you like, hey, can I purchase this off the website to avoid, I don't know, some sort of fee or something? Like, or is it like, no, please go to the website? That's like the easiest way for me to fulfill the transaction.
So as of current, everything's through the website. I started off with eBay. I started off with, I might have done TCG Player. I don't actually recall if I actually went live with that. I did Whatnot for like a month. I've tried all different avenues, but Shopify and my brand, like that's the end game. And so like sacrificing sales on eBay, where eBay just naturally, like you have a better shot just because people trust it more. People, eBay shows it off. Like if you can search for Japanese cards, and eventually if you scroll far enough, you can potentially find anyone. But my thought process is brand, and kind of going back to your question a second ago, like, can I see myself in 3 to 5 years doing this? And it's like, I can, if we're building towards a brand, where like, and just you mentioned Brian Pokiani, like he's big influence on all of this.
I mean, just to interrupt, anyone who has not seen, and I haven't even gone through all of them, but this guy, I mean, he really breaks it down for you. If you have the patience to sit through a lot of these videos on like how to build a business in the Pokemon niche, like there's not many people that actually address that need
step by step.
Yeah, I mean, he lays it out for you. He shows you how to make the easiest, if you want a logo, website, all that stuff. It's kind of crazy, but sorry, continue on.
No, exactly.
His influence.
It definitely heavily influenced by him. Biggest influence probably.
So he's someone who, when you were first starting out, you're like, okay, I can understand how to like set this up and make things work in this hobby, because
he was I almost give all of the inspiration to him. Remind me to go over that thought process of why I started it. But to finish this question, in 3 to 5 years, like, yes, like I want to continue to do this as long as I've built my brand towards it. And that means selling on Shopify, getting people on my site, going back to what I said earlier about, eventually, cross your fingers, like get a get
Right.
distribution access, being able to say, hey, here is all of this Shopify stuff, analytics, receipts, whatever. Here's my proof. Now, one thing that I've delved into a little bit lately is Facebook Marketplace. I will buy English product from Facebook Marketplace, but in terms of selling, I've expanded into that because I've found some really good relationships through that. You have other people who want to stream, rip and ship, and I found people who, like I can almost become a supplier for them through Facebook Marketplace. So that's been a huge surprise. And I've definitely.
Did that naturally happen, or did you end up reaching out to people who were looking for product?
No, naturally. So I posted some Japanese boxes that weren't selling on the site, and I didn't really feel like, putting them out on the, like squandering people with ads on my Instagram. So I just posted it on my Facebook, and yeah, some people needed Japanese boxes that day for their stream. So like, hey, can you meet up? And they've been some of my biggest customers.
That's awesome.
Simply because like right time, right place, and being open to like, hey, I'm a shop. If you want more product, if you need it for this or that, here's my card, like, and just growing that way.
No, again, I love that just because another person that I watch who doesn't do, I haven't watched him as much recently, but for a couple months I was watching a lot of his content, was RNG Games, who does mostly Magic content.
Mm-hmm.
But again, insane value of business content. If you go back to even his oldest videos and just start watching them through. And he is someone who very much has figured out ways. In Magic, it's a little bit easier because bulk actually like has value and like is played a lot with.
Right. Yeah.
But he is someone who has figured out like a use case for almost everything he has. He can't sell it on the site. He'll package it up into a mystery bundle on eBay, sell it that way. He can't sell it. He repurposes things a million different ways to figure out a way to sell things. So for you to, find other people locally even that are willing to take some of that product, helps you move it, helps satisfy their needs. It's good to be looking, or when those opportunities come, like definitely don't turn away. But
yeah, exactly.
I did want to just quickly plug for the 11 people that were in here. This is Logan's card shop website, zippyscardcorner.com. Go check it out. Go buy something from him. Is your hope eventually to get into like slabs or singles on the site too? Or is it just going to be sealed until you're in a place where you're like,
I don't know, man.
Is it too much?
Singles and slabs kind of go into the same bucket that I put vending into. Like, it's so much work to source product. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have the expertise, to be able to quickly and easily, flip through, some images and kind of deem the quality.
Or like a binder or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then prices fluctuate so often. Now, to answer your question, the point at which I'd probably sell singles and slabs would be at the point where I get bored with selling sealed.
Making so much money from sealed. Yeah, you need to spend the money somehow.
Yeah, because singles are so hard, in my opinion. There's so much work. There's so much time and effort that's involved.
Conditioning is a nightmare. Even at those shows, it's crazy.
And then when you have it, it's like, okay, well, how the heck do I organize all this? Well, like, I know people who sell singles, and they're talking about how they're spending, an hour a day just, sifting through products that they've got in that day and making it to where it goes into the right places, and then you got to take pictures of them yourself for your site. Oh man,
that is the one place I'll push back, is that slabs does eliminate that problem. That's why
that's true.
I did get rid of a lot of singles and like I don't have a ton of slabs, but I would try to keep like 40, 50 slabs on me just so that either if I went to a show or had them on eBay or whatever. But there was not the argument over condition because some people name it. They're like, oh, it has one extra white dot, or it's like, I don't know. It's
that's a good point.
Pictures and getting ghosted, and like that whole process is so demoralizing and like exhausting that I totally understand not wanting to do that.
At least now.
Yeah. Okay. I know we're kind of going over the time. I just want to ask a couple more questions. Then
we're just hanging out.
Yeah. Okay, so we kind of got into it, but like, why? What made you start? Like, again, kind of the content creation side of things. What made you start your account? It sounded like you already were trying to do the business side of things, but then maybe realized that in order to push things forward, or like, did you discover Brian and then he was mentioning that as being a component of it, or kind of what was the path between, I guess, pre-May and now?
Well, so I had the account since I started the business back in August of last year. The account just was littered with bad stuff, like bad quality videos. So, I mean, yeah, like I'll reiterate, Brian was a huge influence. Like, I started the business because I was getting back into Pokemon. I was like, I just finished Scarlet and Violet, the video game, that summer. I was watching all kinds of Pokemon content, and it was also in a point in my life where my career felt solid. Felt good about what I was doing. I didn't feel overworked. And I've always been kind of someone that's like maybe unhealthily, like wanted more, you know, in terms of anything. And so I kind of wanted something else, and I'd always wanted to have my own business. And so one day Brian's videos popped up, and like started watching, you know, a couple of them, and then a couple more, and all of a sudden I've watched like 10 videos about, you know, how to build a business. It's like things started turning in my head. Like, why not just try this? You know, it's like, I like Pokemon. I want to do I want to do a business. The barrier to entry seems reasonable. So that was how I started the business. And with that came creating the account. And again, like I said, posting not very good videos, not very good content. Like I was posting pack openings. I was posting without any voiceover, just, you know, background noise. I was posting cards from my collection, you know, and it's like, I think those are cool, but you're competing with other people. And the goal wasn't to, you know, want to be careful. There are a lot of people out there that have Instagram accounts that just want to show off their collection. And I think that is super cool. That's just not the content that is going to build a business.
Right.
And if you're doing that, you know, there's some words of wisdom to you, because I went through that and it didn't work. And yeah, so I was on that grind, what I thought was a grind, for, you know, 3 months, 4 months, and things just weren't panning out. You know, and life got busy. I moved, you know, like moved in with my girlfriend. Like there was just a lot of stuff going on that I was just, and I kind of was discouraged about the business, and it was just kind of like, you know, I don't really care that much. You know, I'm probably gonna, you know, quit it anyways.
Who was the creator that you saw the 30-day challenge from that you?
Yeah. So come May, you know, I started doing some ads, you know, on Instagram, and I was kind of getting some sales from that, which was cool because I didn't really have any sales before that. But I was like, it's kind of with pack opening thing. It's like, I'm spending money, like, you know, and this could become expensive real quick. And as you know, another creator that I followed, he's also Pokemon business. His name's Alex. He is Poke Legends TCG. He's actually the same guy that I do the podcast with.
Okay.
Basically, he was posting his numbers over the past year that he had started, because we had started just a couple months difference from each other. And his numbers were way bigger than mine. And so I super appreciated that transparency. I thought it was awesome. I was like, what is his secret? And, then he is coincidentally, a couple days after, he posted a video saying, hey, like I get so many people asking like, oh, how do you grow your business? My business hasn't taken off. Like, what do I do? I see your success. Like literally that was his video. And he said, you got to post yourself. And it's funny because I love Alex, but what he said in that was not some like genius idea. Like that's just like what you're told to do. But it wasn't really until that moment where I had kind of just almost given up, where I was like, you know what? He's got a point. I haven't really posted videos with my face in it. It's kind of cringe is what I thought of it. But this is kind of my last ditch effort. So I committed, and like the first couple videos were bad, and lighting was not good. The content was not amazing. But it was a lot of trial and error. So anyways, I've already talked about that, but that was sort of the kickstart of all of it.
No, that closes the loop for me, because now I understand. That's awesome that like he's the person you do the podcast with too. That's like the initial person to motivate you to like pretty much start.
It was fun because I started learning a lot about content creation, and a big part of Instagram's algorithm is like you have to comment and engage with others as well with similar content for the algorithm to really get on your side. And so I started engaging with other people and other accounts and just leaving, random comments. And I started commenting on his post, and he started recognizing that I was attempting his challenge because he didn't follow me. And he started seeing me post daily and getting better at it as well, and seeing, views hit 10, 20,000. And, he reached out, saying that he was super impressed with it. And it just kind of like kickstarted, a relationship where he's a business owner. I'm a business owner. We do things a little bit differently, but it's so cool to be able to explain kind of what's going through our individual heads and learn from each other. And, I think that both of us have grown a considerable amount simply because we've had each other to lean on and get support with. So it's been super cool.
Awesome. That is awesome. I guess that answers my question. I think between him and Brian, it sounds like those are the two people that definitely motivated you to, or inspired you to.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I think we've kind of addressed everything, unless there's other questions from the chat. Oh, okay. Chanfree, sorry. I don't know if you're still here. I didn't see this. As a wannabe Pokemon creator, I find it hard to focus on one short form idea and stick to it. Haha. I remember making videos on my thoughts on the market / selling, saying, but I'm too new to this. Yeah, I think to Logan's point, there probably is a lot of people doing that, including myself. And I think maybe it comes down to like how you're going to set yourself apart from other people. And I think the only way you're going to figure that out is by kind of making bad videos for a while at least. I don't know if I could do 30 videos, one every day, because I just know myself and know that I would stop after a week or two. But with that being said, there is definitely like, even before I only did like, at this point I've stopped doing them, but I would do like market themed posts where I'm like actually editing in Canva and like putting together like this chart of, these are the recent sales for tag teams or whatever. And they were doing very, very well. But again, the amount of effort I was putting in to edit those, it would take me 2-3 hours. And it just, to me, wasn't sustainable. But all of that is to say, the first one that I posted was absolute garbage. You probably could have replicated it on your phone and made it look better. And I was doing it on PC, and it took me 2 hours. But over 2 or 3 months, it got to the point where, okay, now these are getting a couple hundred likes per post. Like they're getting sent around a lot, which was, again, kind of the point I was trying to get to, was like, I'm involved enough to know what's going on a
Yeah.
weekly or daily basis sometimes. And I want to just blast that out to the world. And what it started to do was when there would be a new record high sale on a gold star or a tag team, people would send it to their friends. I essentially looked at ZNG Emporium
Yeah.
and what he does with his eBay sales. And I
Yeah.
just kind of copied the formula
Yeah.
for other uh, sets, eras, types of cards, alt arts, that sort of thing, and saw a lot of success. But that is my advice, is just you kind of just have to start and build it from the ground up and figure out, if you're doing the same thing every single video and it's not working, clearly you need to change something
Yep.
in there. And I would say look at people that are doing what you want to do and try to break down the components of what they are doing. Are they doing transitions? Is there music in the background? How's their intro? Like, what's their
Yep.
tone of voice? I hopefully at some point won't have to I really don't want to like upsell my voice and like be this personality that I'm not, but you kind of have to a little bit at least
Yeah.
to get the pep
Yeah.
in your step on videos. But just mess around with it and just expect it to be tough at first. But I think if you do it for a few weeks to even a few months, you will see like pretty drastic growth. It takes a lot of effort up front, but once it starts rolling, you really start to get used to like how to do these things and fit it into your schedule, I think. So just play around with it.
And I think one thing that I want to add is that, you said you feel like you're too new for this, and you might be, but you could frame it in a way that like that's the key aspect of this account. That's the key aspect of your videos. Like
Right.
maybe you are just this new investor and that is your content, is investing as a new Pokemon investor. Like,
Yeah, being vulnerable about like where you're at is like super that is
yeah,
in and of
like
itself can be a
if you're trying to
selling point.
make yeah if you're trying to make super in-depth investment pieces where like for investors, sure, maybe that's going to be content that's too hard, that you are too new for. But if your goal is to create content for the new investor, like because you yourself are a new investor, that builds trust. Like that tells them, the viewer, like, oh, like this guy doesn't know what the heck he's talking about either. But he's giving me information that is entertaining, and I can grow along with him, is something that you
Right.
could frame it as. So it really is just like a putting it into the perspective that works.
Okay, I'm happy you're still here, Chamfrey. I find myself telling people don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about, which I will say is different than most market tubers. Yeah, I mean, um, if you have made a bunch of test videos of content, once you figure something out, would you recommend deleting the old stuff or keeping it for history's sake? I know for me, a lot of what I had before was like Logan mentioned, my collection, like that it was Pokemon, Dragon Ball, and I actually would like to unarchive them at some point, but I didn't delete them. I archived them just for like when I was starting the new branding pivot to like get some synchronicity to my page so that when people came, they weren't like, okay, this is his first video, but like he has all these posts of like his old ESA or BGS slabs. Like I'm not fully aware of what's going on. And I made it very clear to people that I was pivoting. Like I made a
Yeah.
post saying, hey, this is my old handle. I'm changing to this. I'm going to start making
Right.
market content. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but just expect that from me now moving forward. But I would say, yeah, you probably don't have to worry about that starting out until you're seeing like a measurable amount of success where you might be like, okay, I want to take this more seriously. And so I'm going to maybe archive or delete the things that don't like show, I guess, the sense of professionalism that you've established over time or something like that. It could be, I like archiving them because you don't actually delete them. You can go back and watch them privately in your own time too, and just see where you came from, but it's up to you.
Yep. I have no thoughts.
Okay.
You can do either or, in my opinion.
All right. Let's see. I don't think I really have anything else. I think we've kind of gone a little bit over, which is totally fine, but I want to be respectful of your time and anyone else's time in the chat. So again, anyone watching back later who has watched this far, be sure to check out Logan on Instagram, Zippy's Card Corner. It's also zippyscardcorner.com for his store. And I have been inspired by you, not only in what you said today, but just from seeing your content. Every time I watch it, I'm like, this guy, like he gets it. Like he understands not only being consistent, but just like, again, the brand. It's like,
Yeah.
you have this well lit background. You're throwing a card over your shoulder. It's like the same kind of topics. It's structured in a way that, to your point, is kind of sustainable, even though the schedule is a little bit like tough because it's so many uploads. It is sustainable to some degree in terms of breaking it down. Like if you were scripting everything brand new from the start every day, it would be really exhausting. Like if you have something that comes up or you want to go to the gym or something, it's going to be really difficult to fit all that stuff in. So I got to give kudos to you for figuring out something that works.
Yeah. And, you know, like we talk, myself and Alex talk about it in our podcast a lot, where like our podcast is geared towards businesses. Like we give insight into, you know, and transparency around what our day-to-day is like and things like that. And, you know, there's just a lot of people that are starting businesses right now. Like it's just, you know, it makes sense, you know, like Pokemon will sell. But, you know, it's one of the biggest struggles that I did starting out was just like, I didn't have any audience, and, you know, content is king in getting an audience, in terms of getting an audience. So it's just a lot of work. Doesn't mean that you can't find success. It's just like, understand going into it, that it's a grind. But, you know, again, like I said, I think the biggest things for anyone is like, if you're consistent and you're dedicated to getting better every single time, there's no way that you can't succeed to a certain degree. And that, again, it doesn't mean posting daily. You know, if that's like, do what you can. If it's once a week, do it once a week. If it's, you know, once every 2 weeks, fine. But make sure that, you know, the video 2 weeks after is better than the one, you know, 2 weeks before. And as you get better, it's like maybe you find time to do more. I don't know. Anyways, that's well said.
No, I think that's great advice and kind of puts a perfect bow on this. So thank you all for coming out. For those of you that stuck around, really appreciate it. Go follow Logan or Zippy's Card Corner on his socials and check out his podcast and his store. And then for me as well, chilling again, I have a Discord, the Zen Force, buy, sell, trade, talk about collecting, investing, all that jazz. We don't have any bots, so sorry, I don't have that. But you can come and hang out and buy and sell cards. So
yeah, this was super fun. I really appreciate, you know, you having me on. I think it's, like I said in the beginning, it's fun to talk with someone who is like in the hobby and has opinions and, you know, things that are interesting to talk about. So I enjoyed it. And thanks for everyone who, you know, hung out with us and asked questions. I thought that was super cool. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Would love to have you back on sometime, and definitely going to be paying attention to the growth of not only your page, but also the store over time.
Tomorrow's the first day that I don't post. Like,
no. All right. We'll end it there. And I'm actually I'm gonna have to post this, but I don't think I'll be streaming next week because I will be taking vacation. So
nice.
I will update everyone as needed then, I guess. But yeah, thank you again, Logan. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. We'll catch y'all soon.
Cool. Sounds good. See y'all.
All right. Peace.